Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 63 of Orchid Bay. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Last week we set up the town of Denis, also pronounced as Denise for those less sophisticated of the city. It turned out really nicely, thanks for your support, and glad you guys enjoyed it. We'll certainly do Denephew at some point as well as another rival town to Denise. But we're actually heading back to near the start of the city today because we're going to be adding to the industrial skyline that actually lies over near Two Church. Adding these very distant smokestacks in the form of an oil refinery. Definitely one of the more interesting Industries DLC builds, so dive into it, shall we? And finish the final of Orchid Bay's main 4 Industries. Okay guys, so let's get on with Orchid Bay's oil refinery, shall we? So really love building these things. They're massive bits of kind of cool industrial infrastructure. If you need inspiration, Google Earth, great point of reference to these kind of things. There's a massive one in Merseyside in the UK called Stanlow Oil Refinery. There's also kind of a massive gas works on the Southampton coastline as well. So we'll extend our arterial road over here. I probably do want to rid the second arch if possible. It looks like we just need to redefine where the bridge starts and ends, but we'll sort that in the detail in time lapse. At least the connection is there for right now. So we've actually already got an oil area here that we did way back in the Industrial Evolution. All this stuff over here with the paper factory. And it's up to 92,000 resources produced now, which is really good for us. Allows us to be, well, level this thing up a lot faster to get to level 4, which is where we'll get the big kind of meat and potatoes of the build, is the oil refinery, right? So let's bring in a road here. We'll also throw in a toll gate as well. The oil refineries in real life are pretty big targets for terrorist attacks and such like, so they have enormous security around them. Definitely not just a place you can just stroll into. So let's set up the frame. Now we do have some oil around here, all this stuff up here, and you can see we've set up a district. We're going to do something with that in a second. So let's just bring up some general frames as to where our facility is going to sit it today. Bring that down as well. Probably just happened to align perfectly, that didn't it? So this is okay. Let's go ahead and grab the main building. I do want this in the main facility, and we'll treat this as kind of like a little satellite sort of industry, if you like. We can also break that industrial area from here now as well. Cool, so that's going to be good for me. So first thing I want to do here is actually get some oil extracting, because currently in Orchid Bay we're actually importing all of our oil from an outside connection, which is adding a significant amount of traffic onto the roads. So I want to reduce that just by having a lot more locally produced oil in Orchid Bay. So we'll come up to this little plateau here and we'll do some terraforming. Go ahead and put ourselves on a maximum brush size here, or brush strength. And then we'll just push this out so we've got a little bit more of a flat space to work with. Also, forest brush up as well so we don't keep eating into that tree count. I do need to remember to start removing the trees under the roads now. So a really fun thing to do is to combine base game oil industry with Industries DLC. The assets actually complement each other very well. And you can do this with the other DLCs or the other industries as well. It doesn't have to be oil. So, for example, let's go ahead and grab some oil stuff here. So the large one we've got at the minute is this small oil drilling rig. That's absolutely fine. So we'll have one of those next door. Then we'll do 2 bits of zoning, like so. And then we'll essentially just look to mimic that pattern on the opposite side. So we'll throw in another one there, and then some more 2x3 zoning. And then just let these grow up, and there's various, pretty much endless configurations really. It's whatever your imagination will allow for. So we could also do, let's do 3 of these small ones side by side. And then we'll bring out some more zoning frames, and then we'll bring it down here. Got a much larger spot to zone there. So that's the general premise. I find that oil fields, particularly in vanilla CS without any props or mods like Move It to fuse assets together, they can be quite hard to get to look good, but this is a nice little way to get them. So that's going to start extracting oil for us anyway. We'll do a few more of these as we unlock further assets as they go down. But something we did in Ilos's oil refinery, which I'm very keen to bring over into Orchid Bays as well, was the use of monorail lines as kind of a mock pipeline. I really enjoy that aesthetic. It looks really cool, probably pulls off a sort of unique aesthetic for the industry, I think. So let's go with this space here, and we'll start aligning up some tanks over this way. So we'll place in the tank, and then we'll come back and grab the monorail line, and this should be Guess I don't want it right up against the road. Let's have it stop kind of against the tank there. And then we'll have that one run down that way. And then we'll do 2 more. Do you want to go for possibly 3, I guess? This is quite a wide space in the middle, is it? So I guess we could afford 3. Again, we'll leave that space behind for the pipeline to come down. And then we'll have the 3rd and final one about there. We won't be able to tell the gradient in height here as well once the concrete surface painters are down. So we'll have it like this, okay? And then essentially just want to repeat that aesthetic on the opposite side now. So we'll run it down the same length and then bring it down by 450 either time. Something like that. Then we want to be like 2 tiles up from where we are here. And hopefully if all calculations are correct, then we can add in little tank silos like that. So really love doing this. Again, if you haven't seen our Ilos refinery, I think that's probably my favourite one we've ever done. It turned out really, really cool. So definitely go check that out if you haven't already. And then we'll link these all together. We'll probably eventually take them into the actual main refinery space itself once we get there to unlock that. But for right now, this is going to do as a job, I think. And then we'll just bring this road connection back together now. And then this can just break off and be melded back into the facility itself. Fabulous. I don't mind that at all. See how we do for workers. Yeah, so we really just need workers for which our extraction assets are going to be best for that. So we'll do a few more of these over here. We'll spam down a few more oil pumps and get some larger zonings next to these as well. Here's going up here, got a little collection of props there on that side. That's great, isn't it? That one's not too bad, I suppose. And then this one's perfect, right? It's nice to have some new oil assets, isn't it? That are kind of combined with the regular sort of DLC ones. They definitely have a place, I think, anyway. And yeah, same thing again with that one again, right? Perfect little collection of props and texture outside of the oil pumps. Really appreciate it. So, we'll have that anyway. And there you go, there is level 3, speak of the devil. Which does give us the large oil pump, which we will implement while we are over here. Let's go for this one over here. Looks like we can get 2 of those back to back, and we'll combine that with a small pump as well, plus a larger spot of zoning. So these guys will continue to produce oil for us, gradually getting more and more workers in, which again it will tick over. So let's kind of turn our attention towards the middle here now. So we've got some barracks to play with. I definitely have some barracks up against the road here, I think. So let's bring them on a grid snap, and we'll have this just run up into the facility like that, I think. And then we'll spam down some workers' barracks. Let's go for kind of a back-to-back pattern here, if we like. It's a little collection of oil barracks here. Should increase the efficiency of the area by a significant percentage here. We're at 140% now. Cool. That should also keep spiking our worker count up as well, I believe. Yeah, barracks actually bring quite a few workers in there, so if you need to hit those worker counts, spam extraction and barracks seems to be a good call for it, right? Cool. So this is going, we really can't place much more in the middle until we get the refinery asset, which is okay. We'll wait for that to come in. There's something else I'm keen to implement here, and that's actually going to be some of the oil tanks from the industries, well, from the airports DLC, sorry. Because I'd love to have them as part of a refinery. I think it's going to be quite cool. So we'll paint out an airport area. Now, of course, these are going to be purely aesthetic. There's not any function intended with these here. But we will paint out an airport area. Look something like that. And then, now we could just take it from this airport area, but it'd terraform out all the way here, which I could sort out afterwards. I guess that might be a more sensible choice, but we'll see how the aesthetic pulls off first before we decide if we do that. So let's grab ourselves the airport refueling stations if we can find them. There we go. Yeah, so I want them sort of lined up here as close as we can get them. Something like that. Now, of course, these don't need to be placed on a road, so we could get away without them, but I'd like to just see how much we're working with here. So we'll need to go for another 480 out this way, which will take us to this node here. And then we just want to line those up back to back. if we can. Maybe one more node across. There we go. So we can have 3 of them actually sat here. So I think these assets in particular will just pair very nicely with the oil silos from the actual DLC, right? Plus they've got really nice kind of oil truck like props on the front of them, which I think is just so appropriate for a refinery, isn't it? Might even tack a few of these onto the actual petroleum refinery factory as well. But I really like that. I think we'll definitely keep them in. Almost look like gas silos, don't they, compared to the oil silos over there. Which is fine. Cool. So these are slowly ticking up. We're very, very close now, aren't we? We are very close. These guys are winning of workers, but they will eventually sort themselves out. Now, if I remember rightly, I think it's the pyrolysis plant, which is quite sort of cute and dinky, isn't it? I wouldn't mind actually having a couple of these out the front of the sort of main storage silos here, almost as like they are kind of a terminal or a control point for these pipes and silos here, with an actual functioning yard rather than just storage. And then can we bring our airport aprons over here now? We should be able to, I think. If I remember rightly, the airport aprons are very choosy with what they do and don't collide with. And I think some of the oil assets they do end up colliding with, so we'll have to be careful as to how that ends up panning out. And there you go, there's level 4. Wonderful. We're flying through the levels here, aren't we? It's going very well. So what happens when you leave an area to burn for ages, you just got to hit those workers. So that gives us the main beefy refinery, which is of course the big meat and potatoes for today, isn't it? So I definitely want to be factored in to the whole pipeline system here. So I'd love to wrap it up if at all possible, actually. So let's grab ourselves the petroleum refinery. Super big boy here, isn't it? So I'd like it there for right now. And then I want to draw in a road behind it. That gives me a tile either side. That way we can wrap the oil pipeline around it. I think what we will do is actually bring in a double road. Then we'll flip the refinery onto that. And then we're going to downgrade that into a small one, which will give us the extra tile at the front, which means we can actually run the pipeline around it as well. So let's now return to the wonderful world of monorail. You will come across into these spaces and wrap around the refinery in its entirety, whilst also heading up to the extraction point, which is what I want to do a little bit something unique with the pipeline coming up this way, which we'll get to. And then we should just be able to bring this out the front now. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Makes it seem much more like a proper refinery facility, doesn't it, with those pipelines flowing all around it. Really cool. Very nice indeed. Cool, I think with these guys as well, I can actually just change the orientation of the road here, because they don't need road connections, these assets. Which is tremendously handy. Cool. Do a bit of airport apronage through here too. So what I'd like to do now on the other side of the refinery is essentially just align the rest of the oil processing assets to basically create a kind of larger yard or functioning facility around the edge of the refinery itself. So let's see if we can do something with the petrochemical plant, which is a 4 wide asset, isn't it? So we'll knock this back off. Let's go for... try bring a road up where there's a gap in the fence. That's going to make more sense there, isn't it? And then we'll place a petrochemical plant there. And then we'll do another one on the opposite side. And then let's see if we can grab some of this waste oil stuff. We'll have one over there and over there. I'm not trying to mimic these, they're just kind of aligning where you would expect. I also want to save some room for the naphtha cracker plant as well, which is a level 5 asset. That one, that's a fairly chunky one, isn't it? But then we can take this as a spice sample here, right? The whole point is to surround the petroleum refinery with the smaller processing assets, which essentially just increases the footprint of the refinery factory itself, which just gives you a much larger sort of impressive facility, I find, which is always a real key kind of aesthetic with these kinds of builds. Bring that down there as well, and then we'll also complete the pipeline up this side as well, so we'll have it come into some kind of processing up this way. Then we'll bring this down, hook it in with there, and then we'll also feed it in as part of this one as well. Cool. That's a pretty cohesive pipeline there, I think, isn't it? It should make a lot of sense, I hope. So while things continue to tick over, we should still be moving up in workers. There's still vacancies left around and whatnot. So I'd also like to explore the idea of having an import and export facility within the refinery itself with cargo trains. So I'd also want a warehouse in here as well, I imagine, actually, I'm thinking about it. So let's have a warehouse on this road here. And then ideally I'd like the cargo station to be behind it, and we'll use the train station one for that, I imagine. So let's bring things along this axis. Let's go ahead and dive into that cargo airport station. We'll have it a little bit further down. Yeah, that's pretty much what I envision there, I think. So I don't mind the level crossing here, I don't think. It depends really, though, if the vanilla game will accept it. It will not, in which case then I think you might need to do some elevating. So you can still get in and out. Let's just work on this little section here for a second. So I imagine we're going to sink down ever so slightly here. Not too much though. And then we'll kind of compensate for the height we need to get over by increasing the height of the road. Probably something to about there, I imagine. That should give us the networks to get under. We'll stretch this out a little bit. So my plan is to connect it into this rail line over this way. So we'll grab that same height with the level terrain tool. And then push it through this forest here. Also go ahead and forest brush a little bit of this off. Like a little bit, I mean the entire forest. So something like that. And then really we want to be sloping up to here from about, I guess, this general direction. Something like that should see us through, I think. Start to arrange this landscape to be a little friendlier for trains. Cool. So let's bring these straight down and under. And then once we know we've got those established, we can now look at bringing that train, that road connection back in too. So this gives us a much smoother connection back down here now, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm much happier with that, I think, as an alternative way in and out of the refinery. Cool. And now we'll just get these train lines hooked in to where we want them to go. And just like clockwork, we hit level 5 already. Absolutely fantastic. So that goes to give us the cracker plant, which is one I certainly wanted to use, wasn't it? So let's go ahead and bring this in as well. Oh, we have one there. Is that going to be appropriate? I wouldn't mind another storage silo over here, actually. I think we'll go for this orientation here. Let's throw it on that angle, and then we can do some more little monorail pipework intricacies around here as well. Something like this, I imagine. Tap into the grid only though here. There we go. That's sort of what I had in mind. Fabulous. And then we'll do airport apronage where the game will allow us. Hopefully all around here is acceptable or fair game. But yeah, looks like the cracker plant is one it does collide with, doesn't it? Which is really irritating, but it's okay. Yeah, see, it does collide with some oil assets and others it doesn't. It's very particular. But that's okay, I think, right? Starting to establish that wider footprint now for the refinery, which is good. In terms of this, you really just need to hold whatever the refinery wants, which plastic and petroleum will be produced en masse on site, so it doesn't need to store them. So really just metals is all you need. So we'll have that to store metal. Cool. We had one of these things abandoned up here, have we? That's a shame, that was the nice one that I liked. Maybe it'll regrow. We'll wait for it to regrow anyway. And we got some more little oil prop fields out here as well, which are very much appreciated, aren't they? Especially when you see the little workers knocking around here as well near the rigs. Very appropriate. I do like doing that with I have no industry, and then the wider facility appears there, doesn't it? Very nice indeed. These things get very impressive very quickly. The refineries are really cool builds. And then up here, what I think I'd like to do is to have some oil storage. Again, with a space in between for some monorail pipe to come through. And then there is then a direct pipeline between I guess, kind of extraction and refinery. There's a fair amount of trucks coming up here, but that's just because we placed those storage cabins though. We're just desperately trying to fill it now, so it'll be okay. We'll get there eventually, I think. And then we haven't added in the maintenance yard, have we? A couple of maintenance buildings yet. I do like these assets. Have one here. Kind of have all the little props on them ready to repair all the old derricks and stuff. They're nice buildings. So I'll have one there. We'll also get some car parking as well during our daytime time lapse, and the whole perimeter fence around the facility as well. And I think what I could envision happening here one day is actually maybe cracking open the trumpet and turning this into a 4-directional interchange. Just tapping it into the arterial road here. But I guess they do have the connection a little bit further down to get into Imperator's interchange, don't they? So maybe it will be alright actually. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of detailing, we've actually hit level 5 a little bit sooner than I anticipated here. So let's go ahead. How are we doing for money? 14,000. That is waiting on metal. We are producing a fair bit of metal from Shay's Minerals. Yeah, there's 8 tons of it coming out. We could maybe do a little bit more than that though. There's a lot more glass than there is metal, isn't there? But either way, it shouldn't be too long before the refinery is stocked again. But the oil area is making decent money anyway. But either way, let's do some detailing. A lot of concrete surface painter, probably some more warehouses, industrial assets. All configured, maybe a little bit of garbage processing over here as well. Rebuild the forest line up, full fence lining, and then generally just get our very cool looking refinery started into the landscape. It's already not looking too bad, is it? Really like the addition of the airport fueling tankers into a refinery. That's a very cool addition. But otherwise, let's do some detailing, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, a little detailed review, shall we? So coming to the front of the station where we've added in a firewatch tower and a police station just to help kind of reinforce those security vibes that we wanted around the front of the facility. Some car parking brought in alongside some garbage processing alongside the main building, which now sits with a bunch of car parking too, kind of in and around the silos and the train facility here. It really kind of separates the arrivals from the processing, doesn't it? A really cool view from here as well across the car park. I think that's a great vista for the refinery, and you can just sort of see the train processing over the fence there too. Really nicely. Barracks just separate away, and there's some kind of open green space as well between processing and the edge of the facility here. Just so there's kind of a bit of a, you know, a look across the field to get there from here in the fence, which I really like. It's pretty cute. Decided to turn around the airport fuel stations just so it kind of looked like, you know, they'd kind of drive up the middle, maybe hook into the oil pipe from this side, and then they can go into each silo or whatever. So I thought these are much better kind of served facing into each other, which I hope you all agree with. They turned out pretty nicely here. And then this comes out to some more car parking and another maintenance building in between, with some of that overgrowth palette that we've used around the refinery as well. And then the refinery itself now kind of sits here with this all storing metal, plastic and oil. So the warehouse, or not the warehouse, sorry, the refinery factory operates at 150% pretty much for the whole time, making an enormous amount of money for the city. So that's really nice that we can keep that stocked, of course, with so much processing going on now. And just a really nice combination of assets, wasn't it? Warehouses, really expanding the footprint of that petrol refinery with you know, the other oil assets. Turns out nicely. Lots of surface paint has really helped this build as well, I think. Then we come across here, and some yards with car parking up against buildings and whatnot to sit around the plant. So it's just kind of a general open, usable concrete space, if you like. Just some simple detailing, nothing too over the top. And then more pipelines knocking around as well, drawing in a little other facility up this way. And then we did actually zone in some final bits and pieces over here again, really using those props to help detail the oil fields. It's an enormous help, isn't it? I hope you all agree. So definitely worth bringing in those zone-ins as well. And now this just whole process sits nicely here and really completes this very industrial part of Orchid Bay, of course. We've also got the paper factory over here too, plus the original forestry, which I really enjoyed this build, and there it is all that time later, right? Finally back over here to complete the last of the industry build, which is nice. So yeah, it turned out really nicely. It's pretty busy. I imagine some extra slip roads here would probably help. This roundabout's getting pretty busy now. So maybe at some point I can definitely see us cracking this open into a 4-way interchange, I imagine. We'll probably do that on a live stream job though, I think. We'll wait until it needs it anyway, but for right now, it's at least surviving anyway. But yes, there's also a bus as well now that loops all the way around the industry complexes up this way, so that's good. Keep people moving by public transport as well. But otherwise guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Always enjoy these oil refineries, and this is definitely one of my favourite vanilla ones that we've done. Don't forget I mentioned the ILOS one as well. If you haven't seen the ILOS refinery, go check it out. That turned out just so fabulously. It's crazy what difference just a couple of mods can make to take this sort of asset into something totally different. So go check that out if you haven't seen it. The content embargo for our Cities 2 video lifts this Thursday, so expect a wave of tier lists and tutorials on Cities Skylines 2. Now that embargo is lifted, and yeah, you'll be able to see a lot of that just before release next week. And I imagine we'll also have our first Cities Skylines 2 build series start next week in line with the release of the game as well, not the embargo lifting. So if you're looking forward to some of my Cities 2 series from Thursday onwards, you can rejoice. In terms of what happens with Cities 1, Orchid Bay and Thessia will continue. They are just not finished yet, and I'm not ready to say goodbye to them, so still expect just as much Cities 1 content alongside Cities 2 on the channel as well. And Man Awards is also in early access later on this year as well, isn't it? So expect a lot of Man Awards too. Exciting times. Big shout out as always to our Patreon subscribers, and especially Felix Wilkinson. You guys paying money to support the videos on the channel every month is insane, and I really appreciate all support. You make a world of difference, so thank you very much. Otherwise, enjoy today's cinematics. I want to thank you all so much for watching. As always, enjoy the rest of your day.